In 270 BC, the Western Mediterranean was controlled by two major superpowers, Rome and Carthage. It was about this time when these two factions went to war. Carthage, the North African trading power, versus Rome, the Latin military power. Only one can come to dominate the Mediterranean. Which will rise and which will fall? Hanno, the Carthaginian king, had long had ambitions to bring down the Roman Empire, and it was in 270 BC that he decided to follow up on his plans. He recruited some mercenaries in Sicily and immediately put himself on a boat, ready to sail to Carthage to regroup with the rest of his army. In Sicily, he left his grandson Fiagras to defend the island from potential Roman or Greek invasion. Fiagras immediately began building up some troops. Hanno called his second oldest son, Burhus, a superior trader and skilled bureaucrat, to move up into the city of Carthage and govern there. Meanwhile, in Carthage itself, Hanno's eldest son, Hasdrubal, was left in command. There he ordered the construction of a large temple of Baal in hope that it would give them luck in their invasion of Rome. Hanno's third eldest son, Theophanes, had been ordered to build up an army over time in Spain and make the push into eastern Iberia. The diplomat Hiram was ordered to go down into Africa to strengthen diplomatic relations with the other local tribes. Meanwhile, the totally not nervous at all spy, Akwat, was ordered to keep an eye on Rome and the Greeks. Hanno eventually made his way into Carthage, meeting his two eldest sons. He instantly ordered the recruitment of a couple of swordsmen squads ready for his invasion. Taxes were raised throughout the empire to prepare for war. Hanno, the faction leader, and his eldest son, Hasdrubal, decided it was time to make the push. 2 years they had spent building this army, and now they were ready. With cavalry, elephants, and infantry, it was time for them to regroup with Theophanes, take over Spain, push around into southern Gaul, and then strike at the Romans through the Alps. They immediately boarded their ships and set sail. Meanwhile, Theophanes decided it was time to make the push on the Spanish barbarians. The war began with an attempted raid on the camp of the Spanish army. They fled to the beaches. Theophanes decided to make the push. Although a confident commander, he certainly preferred the role of governing over fighting, but still wished to prove his name. He instantly ordered his troops forwards, but refused to go into battle himself. Theophanes, although a proven commander in battle, he was not a proven soldier, rather one who preferred to sit back at the back of the battle map and observe his plan come into action. Once in range, the troops were ordered to fire, and instantly began melting the Spanish barbarian infantry. By the overwhelming hail of rocks and javelins, the infantry immediately broke. The skirmishers were ordered to fire on the other town militia, whilst the cavalry run down the rest. Afraid of losing his king's valued skirmishers, he decided to not risk them in coming in contact with the enemy skirmishers, instead charging himself. With the enemy general killed, the morale of the enemy skirmishers had collapsed. And despite this, he decided to back out of a charge at the last second, claiming to be given an order. He did eventually make it to the battle, but only once the enemy had routed. Another victory in Spain. Theophanes had definitely become a much more confident commander, although his fear of actually fighting on the battle against an enemy hand in hand is something that will come to haunt him in the near future. The way to Carthago Nova was now open. He instantly put the settlement under siege. Fear in Cordoba managed to rise. Worried about a barbarian invasion, many of the civilians enlisted to become town militia. After years of searching, the diplomat finally made contact with the African tribes and managed to secure trade rights. Worried about a Greek attack once the First Punic War ignites, the general in Sicily sent out a diplomat to make a trade agreement with the Greeks of Syracuse. The Greeks, thankfully, accepted. Theophanes, after a successful battle, was rewarded with a marriage. Determined to prove himself again, he immediately put Carthago Nova under siege. This time the general he faces will be much more experienced, however the army smaller. It does not expect too much resistance here. Again, he baited his enemy forwards with his skirmishers, and then sent in the infantry. The enemy general was dead, and so he decided to advance his skirmishers forwards towards the plaza. The strategy was put into place again and worked the same. The enemy marched forwards to be met with infantry. The Spanish countered attack with a javelin shot, forcing a lot of casualties onto the Carthaginians. Theophanes again charged into the backs of the Spanish, determined to break them once and for all. But again, he pulled back from the charge at the last second. The battle was won. However, still, Theophanes is yet to come in hand-in-hand combat. Carthago Nova was captured and the population massacred. But still, that won't be enough to quell the populace. Their culture was destroyed and a Carthaginian culture put in place. Hanno first deployed outside of Palma and brought another one of his grandsons along to the fight, wishing his entire family to be here to witness the day when he brings down the Roman Republic once and for all. Theophanes, after hearing word that his king Hanno was about to arrive, immediately set up north to take more land, determined to impress his king. The diplomat in Iberia reported spotting a Spanish barbarian army moving down south to Cordoba. The population panicked and immediately began militarizing again. Burhus, the governor of Carthage, had completed the construction of the large temple of Baal. Going against his father's wishes of building a military settlement of Carthage, he decided instead to turn it into a trading settlement, and built a bazaar and had plans in place for a shipwright. Theogres was ready with his army, or so he believed, and immediately set out to border the Roman Empire in Sicily. Confident, he sent the nervous spy into Messana to see what he could do. The spy managed to provide intel on the Roman garrison. He saw the settlement as weak and easy to take. Burhus began getting worried about his city of Carthage and the threat of a possible Roman invasion, so began building a fleet of Carthage. He had 2 members of his family here with him to act as generals in case of an attack. His plan was to send them over to Sicily to meet with Theogres and make the push eventually into southern Italy to regroup in Rome with his father Hanno. Meanwhile, Hanno finally landed in Iberian territory and was contacted immediately by Theophanes. The two were to join forces on the bridge and then take Oscar from the Spanish. Worried, however, about the potential loss of Cordoba, he decided to request a ceasefire from the Iberians. The Iberians laughed at the proposal and refused to accept, leaving the people of Cordoba alone to defend for themselves. It was Viagriz who decided to ignite the war. He put Messana under siege, built his siege equipment and prepared to assault the settlement. With that, the First Punic War had begun. The Roman Empire immediately turned their attention away from Gaul and began moving their troops down south into Sicily. They were completely blind to the potential Carthaginian army that was about to storm over the Alps with their elephants. Hanno's plan was suddenly altered as his wife died that same year. This affected him deeply, to the point where he even considered being merciful towards the Iberians in Austria. He again requested peace, this time offering something as a sign of goodwill. The Iberian barbarians refused to accept. How many more are to die, thought Hanno, but the city of Cordoba had been put under siege by the Spanish. He joined with Theophanes and made a push onto the settlement of Austria. He made the assault. Hanno, after spending a long time out on the seas, couldn't wait to finally get into combat. He immediately charged his cavalry through the gate into the light infantry. Although he knew this was not the smartest decision, he just wanted to have some fun. The Iberians broke instantly and he cut them down as they tried to retreat. Theophanes, meeting Hanno on the other side of the battle, ordered his troops forward, however held back himself. His troops were meant to flank around the gate, come through the same entrance, and just help reinforce Hanno's troops. He ordered his skirmishers to fire, and made sure his phalanx was set up. The Spanish general charged into the phalanx and he followed behind. But the Spanish general manoeuvred around the phalanx and managed to hit the slingers instead. Hanno acted instantly and charged out towards the cavalry to try and break them. He pulled all his skirmishers out of there and tried to make sure his phalanx was set up. The slingers, after being destroyed by the cavalry charge, broke. But reinforcing cavalry arrived and the Iberian general was forced to flee. Once Hanno reached the plaza, he saw Theophanes in the distance, refusing to get involved in a fight. This would be something he would remember. Victory was achieved, but at great cost. The Carthaginians lost a lot of troops that day. Hanno would never forget the cowardly acts of Theophanes. Furious at Theophanes, Hanno decided that his forces were to follow him instead. Theophanes was forced to give up his best troops to Hanno, and instead was ordered to march down south to deal with the Spanish barbarians. Hanno made it clear to him that he will take none of the glory in bringing down Rome. Hanno, feeling impatient, decided now was the time to move on. However, decided to leave his phalanxes and his skirmishers behind to defend Austria, fearful that they will slow him down. He believed he would find mercenary skirmishers on his way. The fleet was ordered back to Carthage. Its intention was to bring a third Carthaginian army over to help with Italy, something which Burrhus finally decided to recruit. Viagriz planned on starving the population of Messana out. However, fearful of time, as the Greeks began massing on his borders, he decided to attack now. His plan was to make 3 separate breaches in the walls and barge on in through there. The skirmishers now used the open gate to their advantage and began firing through. With the breaches in the wall now made, Viagriz decided to make his charge. He immediately charged on the Roman militia units. They held out longer than he thought, but eventually broke. The troops were ordered in. The cavalry held back for a short time. Fiagres was suddenly horror-struck at the fact that his troops had broken instantly to the Romans. He charged in trying to take out the town watch again. The Roman general fell, but it was not enough to break the Roman morale. More still needed to be done. After that sudden morale drop, Carthage had been proven this day to be a faction that would struggle in battle. The Romans eventually broke and were cut down as they tried to flee. The rest of the troops retreated back to the plaza. Fiagres called his troops a coward and forced them to march back into the plaza, which they did, but feared that they will not be able to hold again. Battle began again. The cavalry charged in. Carthage, led by Fiagres, tried to force the Romans off the plaza to break the morale, which eventually they did. With a brutal ending, the battle was won. Messana was captured. The population was exterminated to set an example to the rest. However, was instantly rebuilt, as the troops from here were required. Fiagres would remain trapped for some time in Sicily. It would be a while before they sees battle again. But still, he had plans to make a landing in southern Italy to take Croton. The militia at Cordoba was attacked by a barbarian force, mostly of skirmishers, but still the Carthaginians had little hope. A man named Admetos, a simple teacher, decided to take charge of the battle. He ordered his troops back to the plaza, knowing their morale was weak. Here they were to make their final and only stand against the Spanish barbarians. They saw the gates break in the distance, and immediately began trembling as the barbarians barged through. The barbarians arrived, ready to kill them all. Knowing that his troops would not be able to hold out against constant missile fire, he thought it would be best if he was to charge forwards. He instantly sent one squad forwards at the barbarians, and then ordered another one to go up and try and flank around. The first barbarian skirmisher unit broke, giving the Carthaginians courage. However, a little bit too much courage, and they charged themselves off of the plaza. Fighting on two fronts, they still managed to get another flank in to attempt to break the barbarians, which they did. The Spanish began breaking as they were surrounded by Carthaginian militia. The Carthaginians fought well, however it seemed like the Spanish morale could no longer be broke. The battle lasted long, however eventually the Carthaginians began breaking, unable to hold off any longer. The Spanish general was killed, and all of a sudden fear ran through the Spanish ranks. The Carthaginians saw the moment and charged in instantly to try and chase them down. The Spanish armies broke, and Captain Admetos had won the battle, saving the people of Cordoba, but only for another season, as they feared another attack was inevitable. A miracle victory was achieved, however at great cost. They had to pull back into the settlement to attempt to rebuild. The next attack, they may not be so lucky. Admetos ordered the reconstruction of the wall and the retraining of the units to defend against the next attack. However, confidence was in the Cordobans again, as they heard that Captain Theophanes was on his return home. Hanno met with several mercenary commanders whilst travelling through Gaul. One of them offered him a cavalry squad, which he instantly took. He met the Gauls, however had little interest in them. Rome was to be his target. Admetos was right, another Spanish army came to attack, attempting to get their revenge. would Theophanes be able to arrive in time to save the day? Hanno eventually left Gallic territory, and the Alps were in sight. The Romans still had no idea of his coming. Burrhus decided that the time was ready. He sent 2 of his family members along with some extra soldiers onto the ships and over into Sicily. Their plan was to meet with Theagris and make a push onto southern Italy, to further tempt the Romans further down south. The Roman Republic sees no plot. They saw the war as one simple invasion, an attack on Messana simply to take control over Sicily. This defeat they were willing to accept for the time being. They saw the war as over. They did not expect any further attack. However, Hanno was more cunning. His troops were in sight of the Alps and ready to cross. They will cross over the mountains and make their way down to Arretium and eventually take Rome itself. Although the Carthaginians are not without difficulties, the Spanish have made a push onto their Iberian territories. Theophanes has been left to defend the peninsula. However, will he be enough? After showing recent signs of cowardice, maybe the Carthaginian Empire in Iberia will fall. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. This was just, I'm trying to do unique stuff with Total War, and this was one plan I've had in my mind for a while now. Please do subscribe if you do want to see the rest of the series. It's probably going to be a 3-part series, I think. 2 or 3 parts, still unsure. And yeah, this has of course been part 1. I do hope you've enjoyed. Please do like, share, and all that stuff, as that does really help me out. As you can imagine, my videos, they're not like normal Let's Plays. They take much longer to make, and I upload every single day, so subscriptions are really highly appreciated, as these do take a lot of time, and it's good to see that they get support as well. But most importantly, I do hope you've enjoyed. But for now, I do hope you've enjoyed. Hope to see you in the next one, and yeah, goodbye.